Hello. I don't know how to do this intro. Carlos, you need to reorganize this crap better. Good evening, everybody. Um, it's Saturday night, and welcome to the Just Fans podcast. My name is Alan. I'm not the normal host here. Um, I'm here in place of both Poppy and Carlos because apparently neither of them can show up on the work on to work on time. So,
No,
uh,
they're
and
both
then
useless, and I'm glad they're not here.
oh my goodness.
Don't even
Uh,
deserve to call them by their names.
they don't even have to say their names. This is like
No,
them.
what
They're not here.
waste of skin number one, and waste of skin number two. That's what they get.
I was gonna say, Rios is the man that would never was the guest that never leave. Now he's the only one that shows up.
I'm what the people want.
Rios, how you
No, but
doing tonight?
doing pretty good, man. Appreciate you, doing this. I know it's last minute.
Yeah. Carlos reached out to me when I was at work last night. I was like, sure, I can do it, I guess. I've never done, hosted anybody else's show before, so yeah. Please don't come at me with your ropes and torches and whatnot. Even though I'm not wearing the official gear of this show, so
You're fine. Don't worry about it. I
yeah.
mean, besides those atrocious headphones and that hat,
I
I won't
mean,
give you too much of a tough time.
nah, that'll only be when we talk baseball because I mean, let's just go there right now. I mean, the Rangers are pathetic right now. They're down 8-3 last I saw to Washington. Andrew Haney has just been awful. And it seems like the All-Star break just can't come quick enough for them. Yeah, at this point, they're just ready for it to get here so they can finally rest some of these
Rest.
guys. But then again, you look at it, 5 of them are going to be starting in the All-Star game. Who knows if Nate Eovaldi is going to be named the starting pitcher? It's more than likely going to be Garrett Cole or maybe Shohei Ohtani. But at the same time, 6 Texas Rangers are in the All-Star game, which they hadn't had a starter in
In a good minute.
the All-Star game since 2012. Now they have 5. One of them was only because Jordan got hurt. So, oh crap! Sorry, my alarm just went off for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, you know us. We keep it professional. Even when Carlos is not here, we keep the professionalism going. By the way, Carlos, if you're watching, you suck, and I hate you with every fiber of my being.
Again, it's the guest that wouldn't leave, and now he's the only one who shows up. So,
yeah, I was a lost puppy dog. Now I'm the superstar.
That's why they pay Rios the big bucks there at the nursing home.
Right.
So,
damn right. No, but like you go back to the All-Star break. Yeah, it really can't come fast enough because especially with the Astros, we got the injuries just piling up left and right.
mm-hmm.
But there's a reason we don't, as fans, we don't really vote. Like we want to see our guys out there, but at the same time, we want them to rest because we know October is going to be a long grind, and rather than them not get hurt in a meaningless exhibition game.
Yeah, and the All-Star game used to kind of mean something. I know it's people still think use it for like bragging rights and to determine home field for the World Series, but it just used to mean a little bit more than it. Now it just seems like it's a publicity stunt at this point.
Again, baseball's all about these traditions, and the All-Star game is one of them. It used to be the one like in-season tournament that or exhibition that people cared about. Now it's, the home run derby is kind of cool, but like it's one of those things that's it's great for those guys that are good on bad teams because this is their chance to showcase their abilities to people that normally wouldn't see them play. Just like the NBA All-Star game, these guys on these smaller market teams. Hey, it's my chance to show up for a little bit because I know my team's not going to make the playoffs or we're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. But now it's just
yeah,
I'm kind of about the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm. And nowadays with the internet and all the access you have with streaming and podcasting like this show, you have access to pretty much every team now throughout the entire season. Back in the day, it was like, if you wanted to watch Pete Rose play, you either had to live in Cincinnati or you had to be, in the Midwest and get it locally. And the All Star game would be one of those things that you'd be looking forward to every year because you're like, oh, I want to, I'm a Yankee fan. I want to see Pete Rose play, or I'm an Astro fan. I want to see these, superstars play in this All-Star game. Guys would be looking forward to it more. But then again, like I said, we're in the day and age where you can basically watch these guys at any time. You could watch Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, and all these superstar players at any point in the season now.
Except October, you won't see them there.
Yeah, no. only once, which is baffling because again, Mike Trout has been, if not the best baseball player on the planet, and he's only been to the playoffs once. And the same thing with Shohei. Shohei, I don't think, has been to the playoffs at all since he became an Angel.
He has not. Let's just say I have the same number of playoff wins as Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Anyone watching this show has the same number of playoff wins as Mike Trout.
Mm-hmm.
Which is honestly, for a guy of his caliber, that's a travesty. But again, he chose to stay. He had a chance to leave. He chose to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you saw, his organization is not very well run. Like, but I can't fault him for chasing the bag. I mean, $300 million. I'll take an early vacation in October too.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. And you know what? That's what kind of made the World Baseball Classic so compelling, because you got to see these matchups that we don't see in Major League Baseball that often. I mean, how often did you think we were going to end up seeing Shohei Ohtani versus Mike Trout? That was a great way to end the World Baseball Classic, in my opinion.
And I think that's part of the reason Ohtani wants to leave, because I think he saw what's happening with Mike Trout. Like, do I want to spend 12 years of my career not playing meaningful baseball in October? Like, no. Mm-hmm. And right now they're in third, and they're stumbling down the rankings. And I think deadline, he's out. There's no way that he stays there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they're back to 500 right now. You'd think that they, with everything going on with Houston and Texas and their struggles, that the Angels would be taking advantage. Nope, Trout's out. Who knows how long he's going to be gone?
Probably
Ohtani just went out too, because with a strain in his hand as well. So
strain.
Who knows if he's actually going to be at the All-Star game? And he probably will be, but
as a spectator, I think he's saving that hand to sign his next deal, sign his trade waivers.
Yeah. That would be a good question. Where do you think he could end up at next year? Or where do you think he could get traded to if the Angels were like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and trade Shohei?
Yeah, he's because if they don't trade him at the deadline, he's going to leave for free, and there's just no way you let a guy of that caliber leave for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
As far as where to go, I would love to have him here in Houston. It's just I don't know if they're going to want to give up that many assets for what could possibly be a 3-month rental. But again, that's the GM's job. Like, hey, you know what? I know we haven't signed an extension, but hey, look, if you're about a winning culture, the team that's built to win now and into the future, this is going to be your best spot.
Yeah.
Like,
the Angels are going to want a lot. The Angels are going to want a lot for Shohei.
Oh, I can only imagine. But you know what? Mm-hmm. He's a generational player. He's worth every penny, every asset to give up. He's worth it. Mm-hmm. But the question is, you got to think long term. Because say, he gets traded to a team like the Astros, where we give up a lot to get him, but there's no guarantee he'll sign here. As a GM, that's your job. Like, hey, you know what? You're about the winning culture. You're about winning now and into the future. This is a spot for it. Like, look at our record since we came to the AL. We have dominated the AL since we've moved to that a few years ago. So that should be the sales pitch. If they want to, if they do trade for him and want him to sign here long term, is it going to cost arm and a leg? Almost definitely. Mm-hmm. Because the thing with the Astros, especially with the owner, he doesn't like doing these 10-year deals. So that's the thing with Ohtani. I think it's going to take a lot of convincing. Hey, I know you want this, 10-year, $300, $400, $500 million contract, but say take a shorter term deal, like 5, 6, 7 years, more per year, and start off at basically that make that the basis of negotiations at that point.
And you're going to be on a team that is consistently going to be there, playoff team, potentially ALCS World Series team, for
Yeah,
years to come.
yeah. The ALCS is basically the Astros Invitational since 2017.
I mean, yeah, it's been kind of nice because we're not seeing the Yankees every year, thank God. But
Oh, we won't for a very long time.
yeah, and it doesn't look like that way either. They might not make it out of the wild card game
Yeah,
as
I
looking right
think
now.
it's depending on how long Judge is out. But even then, I don't think he's enough to save that team this year. I think this is going to be a
Mm-hmm.
lost year for them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, most of their problems have been in their pitching, and you know, it just seems like their bats have just not been able to figure it out. I mean, they've
I
already
mean,
gotten rid of what's his name, Aaron Hicks, who's hasn't done too bad in Baltimore, but still, yeah, you know, but still at the same time, DJ LeMahieu has been awful. Um, IKF has been awful. It sucks as when seeing the guy who used to be on my team, the Texas Rangers, kind of fall as far as he's at when he's their best pitcher. It's like, oh god.
yeah, same thing with Garrett Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Like Garrett Cole in 2019 was just an unstoppable force.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, I wish we would have done more to keep him here. But again, I understand. But that's why it is a little worry sometimes with the Astros, the reluctance to give out these big deals. I can see why, because their formula has been working. If it's not broken, why change it?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with the Yankees, their biggest issue is just outside of Aaron Judge, they really don't have anyone that's going to consistently make contact, get on base. Like they're basically all about either hit a home run or strike out. It's you got to do
Mm-hmm.
more than that in baseball. You got to get on base. Got to make contact. They got to focus on making contact and getting on base. Because with the Astros, we don't hit a ton of home runs, but we're consistently getting on base and making contact, like making the right plays.
Mm-hmm. I don't usually speak ill will of the dead, but I'm pretty sure George Steinbrenner is rolling in his grave right now of
Oh,
how
I
bad
could.
this team looks. I mean, yes, that they are in a position to be a wild card team, but at the same time, you know,
It's the New
they're
York
not they're
Yankees.
not spending they're not spending the money they should be on guys that they need. You just got Rodon back like yesterday. Yesterday was his first start of the season. It's taken him half the year to get healthy. You mentioned it. Judge is out. Who knows how long he's going to be out? Um, and it's just guys have just not performed, and it's not the Yankee way really. It had George still been alive, he'd be going after guys like Otani, Trout, those type of players instead of settling for Giancarlo Stanton or DJ LeMahieu or whoever else they've been getting recent. I mean, Anthony
Yeah.
Rizzo's nice. He's probably the best player on that team right now. But again,
Still, if Anthony Rizzo is your best player, your team has problems.
I was gonna say again, would you rather have Anthony Rizzo or Mike Trout? I'd take Mike Trout at 9 times out of 10.
Well, the Yankee way is basically buying the best of the best. I don't know if they decided to go with a different philosophy to try to save money, or I don't follow them that well to know what their philosophy is at this point. Because I remember as a kid, like any big name player, right, Clemens, Pettit, you could run down the list. They all ended up being Yankees somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to say like after '09, it's just they've
It's
been
wild.
they've been okay, but they dominated in the '90s, and
Mm-hmm.
before that, and it's. I mean, I don't mind seeing their downfall,
I
but
was gonna
still,
say 2010 was probably their last big chance to win a World Series with the George Steinbrenner built team. Uh,
yeah. Cause
you're
look at their
welcome for
last
that. You're welcome for that, America. By the way,
A
um,
Rod, A Rod, A Royd, whatever you want to call them.
yeah.
That's probably like their last like
the
huge marquee signing. Like he was the best player in baseball, and they took him from the Rangers.
Yeah. I always tell people the downfall in that series was, we put Cliff Lee in game 6 at home. I forget who they pitched, but they kept Andy Pettitte on the bench all night. Did not put Andy Pettitte out that entire game. Had they started Andy Pettitte in Game 6 in that
He
series,
probably would
we
have
would
won.
have gone to 7, and it would have gone to New York. And
Yeah.
they probably would be in the World Series at that point. But that one mistake kind of derailed the Yankees for the last decade and a half at this point. And then of course Brian Cashman just hasn't helped either.
No, not in the slice. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, Brian, keep up the good work.
I looked at this stat. This was crazy. This came up across to me about a month ago. Aaron Boone has the 5th most ejections out of active managers in Major League Baseball right now. 4
Really?
of those guys have been in the league 20 plus years. Let that sink in with how rough it's been for Yankee fans. It's just half the time you go to a game, you're either expecting dreadful defeat or you're expecting Aaron Boone to get ejected. One of the two.
Man.
Gotta love being a Yankee fan at this point.
Oh, I have a lot of friends that are Yankee fans. They're miserable.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Well,
like you mentioned, we're both in the spot where injuries have for you injuries have kind of derailed the Astros a little bit. I've told people here lately is like if the Astros had stayed healthy all season long, they'd be ahead in the West right now, probably about by like 4 to 5 games at this point. We're holding
like
on slightly to a 2-game lead, which I think might end up being 1 at this point. I don't know how
after
you
today.
guys are doing
Right
right
now,
now.
it's last time I checked, it was 2-2. Yeah, it's still 2-2. Top of the 6th inning. So we'll see. They've shit the bed the last 2 games. I think hopefully they get it together these last 2 games before the All-Star break. Because if they can win these next 2 and the Rangers lose these next 2, it's going to get real interesting after the All-Star break.
Yeah, it would be tied. It would be tied going into the All-Star break if we lose 2 and you guys win 2.
I think from that point, it's going to go based off. So I know in other sports it goes based off of strength of schedule. So I don't know if they do the same in baseball. It's been a minute since we've had someone tied in our division. So I really don't remember how it goes in baseball.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with that. Right now it's
Because if it was going,
it's 2.5 games because we got
yeah.
beat by Washington. So and you guys are tied at 2 with Seattle right now. So if you
Okay.
win today, it'll be 2 games.
Gotcha. So it'd be basically like if say we win the next 2 and y'all lose the next 2, be like y'all be ahead by like half a game.
Yeah, we'll either be ahead by half a game or a game, something like that. So it'll
Man,
be
it'll get
again.
interesting. You'll get Altuve back. You're gonna get Jordan back at some point.
Mhm.
Brantley, I'm not holding my breath, but and then
We
the
just need
moves at the deadline. The
we
Astros
just
have
need
made
uh,
some amazing moves the last few years at the deadline. You got Verlander at the deadline, Garrett Cole, Zach Greinke. Like they picked up some amazing talent at the deadline, and each time they did, it take them to the World Series.
yeah. I keep hearing that we're gonna overhaul our bullpen and get another rotation arm and maybe another bat at this point
I think
because
with bats, you guys are kind of set.
bats are fine. I think bats are
I would
fine. They
say
just need to wake
pitching.
up.
Yeah, I say with you guys, your issues pitching.
Yeah, especially
Without
today.
without the
Haney
Grom,
was off.
yeah.
Haney was awful. Haney was awful. Um,
Same thing with us.
a
Like,
lot of people are calling for Andrew Haney to get demoted to the bullpen, and
huh,
I am one of those people because I'm like Dane Dunning has just been so much better. You know, you can make a trade, go get a guy like a Dylan Cease or somebody like that to kind of round out that rotation. Go get a couple more bullpen. That's why I think they're going to end up trading with the White Sox because I think the White Sox have a lot more depth in their bullpen than what most teams do, or at least most teams that are selling do. Um,
yeah,
and you put these guys on a winning team, they're gonna excel. And really, the White Sox problem is they don't have an offense. Tim Anderson, I don't know where the hell he's been all season. And it's just like since they lost Jose, it's just like where's their offense? Their offense is non-existent.
yeah. He's starting to wake up, which I wish he would have done, earlier in the season. But you know what? If he returns to how he played last year, in September, October, hey, I we won that. That was a gem off season signing if that happens. But I call it the beginning of the season. Oh, it was rough. Like you could see it in his face. Like he's not used to playing this bad. You could tell, it really bothered him. But when
Mhm.
he hit that first home run, like man, you could see the joy in his face. Like it was like a kid in the candy store after you hit that first home run. Like the weight was been lifted off his shoulders, and he's been playing pretty good ball since.
Mhm.
Not he's. I would like to see more consistency out of him, but
Mhm. That's a part of the reason why I feel Houston's kind of where they're at too, because they expected a little bit more out of Jose Abreu, and now, with Jordan out and now Altuve's out, somebody's got to step up. It can't all just be Kyle Tucker. So, well, then again, it can all just be Kyle Tucker because he just seems to like single
honestly,
handedly take over games at points.
I expected a bigger year out of it because he's in a contract year. Like I expected him to put like MVP numbers. That was one of my predictions during the offseason. Like Tucker, he wants the bag. He's going to put up MVP type numbers. He's been great. Don't get me wrong, but it's like I was expecting more, especially with
Mhm.
all the injuries. Like the offense is on you now. Like this is your chance. But
I mean, he is an all star, but he's a reserve, so
yeah,
it more than likely either will get only an inning of work in the All Star game, or he might not see the field at all,
I
depending.
prefer he didn't. Like I said, that's one of the reasons us as Astros fans we don't really vote our guys in because again we want them to rest. Like we want them to get that extra break because we know the Astros invitation was in October, so want
Mhm.
them to be fresh.
Yeah, which is why I'm kind of glad that we're kind of struggling now, because if we're able to catch fire, here towards the end of the season, it's going to make for good baseball, especially since
Oh
the
yeah,
Astros will probably get hot, like you mentioned. It's going to be a fun race to the end for sure.
yeah, and our schedule gets a lot easier and y'all's gets a little more difficult. So it's going to be
Mhm.
interesting all the way into the playoffs. So hey, as a baseball fan, you love to see stuff like this.
Yeah, it's basically who's going to stand out from the pack at this point. This is where most teams get tested, you know, with their schedules and whatnot. So this is the part of the year where people are like, okay, is this team for real? What do we have to do? Oh, thank God, our first series back is against Sam's Guardians. That's a win.
Poor Sam.
Poor Sam. We do our baseball show on Tuesdays, and we are no longer allowed to talk about the AL Central because no team in that division is above 500 at this point, so they are barred from being talked about.
As they should, as well as Sam, wherever he is, if he's watching, I despise you as well, sir.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, and then after the Guardians, like you mentioned, it gets tougher. You got Tampa. You got a home against Tampa, home against the Dodgers. Uh, looking at it, you go to Houston, so we got another Astros series coming up, and then the Padres, who are a disappointment.
All that money, like, you got these superstar players, and you guys are like third in your division. They're like the Angels, basically. The Angels of
I think they're
the
fourth
Angels of the
still
NL.
right now. I think they're fourth still.
Yeah, they might go up to third, but they're the Angels of the NL. Like all these superstars making 300 million a year, and
Mm-hmm.
you're at the bottom of your division. Like, bro, what are y'all doing?
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up about the Guardians is Sam knows this, and he knows why I'm pissed off at his team. I picked them to be in the World Series this year because I thought this was going to be a team. If there was going to be a team
Wait, you
that,
you you pick the
yes,
Guardians, the
yes,
Cleveland
because
Guardians,
after what I
the
saw
team
last,
in Cleveland, Ohio. You picked that baseball team to be in the World Series.
because after what I saw last year, I really thought that they would have, if they had made a couple more moves, maybe they would have had a shot to knock off the Astros in the AL
Oh, yeah, I mean,
or
sure.
be better because I thought they were at least going to be better than the Yankees. But
That I
after
could
what
say,
I've
like,
seen
the
this,
World Series.
after what I saw this year, that was going to be my bold take was that they were going to be in the World Series. So they are definitely my biggest disappointment so far this year is the
That's
Guardians. So
that's definitely a take. I mean, yeah, sure. If Jordan Altuve and Kyle Tucker and Bregman and Benya all the time, we're not going to play anymore. We're just going to, retire midseason. Maybe Cleveland goes to the World Series. Otherwise, no, not a chance in hell. My family lives in Cleveland. They wouldn't have made that prediction either.
I was just kind of out of I didn't even think that we were going to be a playoff team this year. I was thinking, Texas was going to be kind of middle of the pack, maybe fighting for that final wild card spot.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I had no thought of division or, top wild card or anything like that. I was just happy with, at least being competitive. And now here they are, a game and a half, 2.5 games ahead of Houston in the division halfway through the season. I'm like, this is new. This hasn't happened in a while.
It's unexpected. I was going to, for the season, I didn't think we were going to run through the division. I thought Seattle was going to be our biggest competition. They've been a big disappointment, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got the rookie of the year. You got Luis Castillo. Like, you have a solid rotation. You got a solid batting lineup. Like, they shouldn't be in third place. But, I can't remember if they were at 500 or below 500. Like, but they should be much
below it. They're right there with the Angels, I think. They're right in that little mid-level mix.
Like, the Angels and the Athletics, I expect them to be at the bottom. Like, I've seen it too often, especially with the A's. Like, they're moving to Vegas. Like, they're not even sure. They have the lowest payroll in baseball. There's individual players making more money than the entire roster of the Oakland Athletics. Like, everyone expects them to be at the bottom. They expect them to be the worst team in baseball, and they are. Mm-hmm. But right about them, I was like, it's probably going to be the Angels. The Angels or the Rangers. Like, I expected more from Seattle, but hey, life is full of surprises. Hey, I'll take it.
We can't consistently say on our baseball show every week is like the biggest offseason acquisition for anybody, player, coach, whatever, was Bruce Bochy. Because in my opinion, Bruce Bochy came in and gave this team a swift kick in the ass that they needed. Yes, they went in and got, completely revamped their rotation. But this basically was the same team they had last year. And Chris Woodward just wasn't getting it done. So Bruce Bochy has been a welcome presence for sure.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes changing the captain, the person in charge of your team. With you guys, the coach, like you see it all the time. Like all these teams that they essentially had the same roster, but they were struggling, and then you change the coach, change the culture, and you're a winning organization. Well, you're winning the division right now, but like still, like you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. So looking at Tampa Bay, they're kind of tampering off here a little bit. They've lost 5 in a row.
I mean,
they're now record wise, they're now behind Atlanta for the best record in baseball. They're still, 4 games, I believe 6 or 7 games ahead of us. They're about 6 or 7 games ahead of Baltimore right now.
Baltimore.
They got off to that great start. Baltimore definitely has been the biggest surprise, one of the biggest surprises of the year.
Hey, tanking works. Tanking works.
Yeah, I mean, look at what they did last year. They traded Trey Mancini and got better. That's basically what happened.
I'm like, look at the Astros from 2012 to 2013. I mean, 2015, excuse me. We were basically tanking. 2015 was like no one expected us to make the wild card. Not just make the wild card, but beat the Yankees at that. We had 300 game losing seasons. People were like, this team's not going to do anything. They were an embarrassment, blah, blah. And then we beat America's most storied baseball franchise in a wild card game. And we have not looked back since. So tanking works. People will say, professionals don't tank. Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah. They'll use anything they can get, and that's why the whole cheating thing was just kind of blown out of proportion because people do it all the time.
Cheating has been a part of baseball since the 1880s. Like, pretty sure it was in the original rule book.
I was gonna say you came up with the original rule book, didn't you?
Yeah. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah. Spoken like a true Guerrero. I miss Eddie.
Latino heat.
I miss Eddie so much.
Right.
Eddie was my favorite.
Man, he was.
I didn't get to watch. I didn't get to watch much of Eddie because he passed away in 2005, and I was only like still in elementary school when he had passed away. But
But I was
Going
21.
back and
And
watching his matches from WCW on and
to
like
WW, well, I can't remember if it was still WWF or WWE at that point when it
WWF
became,
slash E,
because they were going through that merger at that point. But
that
oh man, he was so much fun to watch, man. He was one of my
the
favorites to watch.
the O2 run with the SmackDown 6 and what Paul Heyman had built there for SmackDown, it was incredible to watch.
Right? Like as a Latino, we didn't have a whole lot of guys that were like competing with like for the world championships. Like we just didn't really have that. And seeing him just the way he was on the mic, his skill prowess in the ring, like man, it was just a joy to watch.
I think Carlos is in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying this at the beginning, Carlos. I was like, he's the guy you couldn't get rid of. Now he's the only one showing up.
Carlos was a cat urine.
Say, don't say anything too loud. His producer's probably standing right next to him. So.
Hopefully, if she's listening, hopefully you beat him with a chancla. He deserves it.
Leaving the show to America's drunk uncle and then a Cowboys fan. That's not a good look for a Houston show.
I mean, it's better than having him at the helm.
Oh, hang on.
He's like the commander of the Titanic. He's like the captain of the Titanic.
Here, I'll be Carlos now.
You're a terrible human being, and I hate you. I hope all the bad things in life happen to you and you alone.
Yeah. Just imagine me as Carlos, but only I became a Sooner fan instead of a U of H fan.
Well, he's from California. I don't care about him.
Oh, so he's a USC fan. Oh, okay, that makes him worse.
He's a Californian through and through. He bleeds in and out.
Bleeds in and out, of course.
He's not allowed to Whataburger anymore. He's not allowed to Whataburger anymore.
Which is kind of funny because I think we're going to be getting an In-N-Out down here, at least here in Oklahoma City. I'm not sure, but I know that there's been ramblings of In-N-Out coming in, into the Texas area and even into Oklahoma.
We have a couple locations here. So here locally, we have one I want to say in Stafford, which is like about, depending what part of Houston you're in, about 10, 15 minutes outside the city limits of Houston. And then there's another one in Katy, which is like about 30 minutes outside of the city limits of Houston. Mm-hmm. I tried out of curiosity. Yeah, it was not worth waiting in that ridiculous line. I'm like, you guys are waiting in this long line for a very mid burger and absolutely terrible fries. I'm like, what did y'all season this with?
I mean, hell, I'd rather go to Fuddruckers at that point. I miss Fuddruckers. That was one of my favorite places to go to when I was living in Texas.
As a kid, no, yeah, I love Fuddruckers. Make your own burger? Oh, I went to town.
Yeah. Got to go to San Antonio when I was in high school for the marching band thing. Got to actually go inside the Alamo Dome back when it was still relevant. Go on the Riverwalk, all that.
That stuff. Oh, San Antonio, Carlos's favorite city. He should just move there. He should just move there. He's there every week. He complains about it all the time, but he's always there.
I'm pretty sure
you're watching. Stay there. We don't want you back. You're banned from Houston.
I'm pretty sure he said he's going to make another trip there after this.
He probably will. Go buy a Wemby jersey. Because I will troll you with Britney Spears songs all day.
go buy. That whole thing, I don't know what to make of that.
I'm just here for the memes. It was so hilarious when he got dunked up. People were like playing Britney Spears move over it and putting it on Twitter. Like, I'm never deleting this app.
Man, he's only been in the league 2 weeks and he's already heard it. So
he's already made an enemy of Britney Spears stance. Congratulations, sir.
Britney Spears fan. What's left of them anyway?
Oh, there's a lot of them, and there's
still a bunch, but
they are trolling the living hell out of this kid, and I wouldn't say it's deserved, but as a Houston person, when he cheered when we were picking fourth, I pray on his downfall.
Yeah, I don't even remember what pick we had. I think it was like 10 or 12, something like that. I know we got a couple really solid
I
players,
mean,
so I'm excited.
you guys have like 97 first rounders between now and the next 3 years. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. We've been playing hot potato with Patty Mills here recently. We
I
just
mean,
traded him to Atlanta, so
just speaking of that, that's the most. Well, I understand what happened. Houston wanted to keep the work because they were expecting to get Brooke Lopez, so they created space. They basically sent two of their former first rounders, second rounders to create the cap space, and make the trade work. And when he backed out of his word, I mean, part of me understands why the Houston wanted to kind of save face and hey, we're going to honor what we said we're going to do, even though it's terrible for our team. But
mhm,
as a fan, it is hard to wrap my mind around. Like what are we doing? We gave up a
mhm,
bunch of we basically traded 3 second rounders, gave up on Garuba and gave up on Tai Tai Washington for essentially nothing, like literally nothing.
mhm. Yeah. So how do you feel about your draft this year? What do you think? How you feel
Oh,
about the Rockets this year?
oh man, I loved watching the summer league game yesterday. Man, Amen Thompson. Once he develops a jump shot and gets a little bit more, builds his frame a little bit. Man, he is going to be a monster. Like he put up some big numbers yesterday, and man, he's still a teenager, but he put up some numbers. I got the numbers right here. So
I was
yesterday,
going to say, did you expect Cam Whitmore to fall as far as he did and fall right into your lap there at 20?
oh, he was a projected top 5 pick. So when he fell to 20, we didn't have to even give up anything. I'm like, thank you, basketball gods. But no, so yesterday, Amon Townsend, he put up, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 4 blocks, like in 25 minutes. Like he was, all around great. Again, the jump shot definitely needs work. It sucks he kind of hurt his ankle a little bit. It's nothing serious, it's like maybe 2 weeks. He's gonna miss summer league, but you know what? That's fine. He'll be ready for training camp, and
Mhm,
he's learning from a pro in Fred VanVleet. Like guy is, went from undrafted to an NBA champion, like
mhm,
and getting like a big deal. Like he's learning from a guy that's a consummate professional. I think he's gonna bring out the best in not just the younger point guards, but the rest of the players as well. Like especially with Jalen Green, like that's like if he can reach his potential, learning under Van Fleet as well, just to be be a pro. Like approach this game, approach this league as view it as a job, be a professional. Because
mhm.
we can still to these young kids, man, they're sky's the limit. It's exciting. We probably won't win a lot of games. We'll probably be fighting for a play-in spot, but you know what? The future's bright.
Mhm.
As a Rockets fan, definitely gotta be excited to see these kids' potential, see if they can reach his potential, and yeah.
Mhm. And I know a lot of people have been like, why did Freddie VanVleet go to Houston? And it's like, well, you look at what they have now, and they got, Thompson coming in as you mentioned, and then getting Cam Whitmore as late as you did. I know people were concerned about the injury, his ethic off the court and whatnot, but that's still a pretty solid player. So you basically got two. You basically did what the Texans did this year. You
Two
got two
top 5
top
picks.
five, two top five picks. So you know that that
And
that that could end up coming up big for Houston in the end. So
I think that this is probably the best spot for Cam Wilmer to come because John Lucas has been great working guys that have off the court issues like Kevin Porter Jr. That's one of the reasons Cleveland gave up on him because he
mhm,
threw soup at I can't remember if it was a member of the staff or a team. Like he had some off the court stuff that was very concerning to them, so they let him go for nothing. And he's flourishing in Houston. Like he's probably gonna be a 6 man, but I think honestly it's probably the best spot for him because he's not a true point guard. I think
mhm,
his true position is a shooting guard. I don't see him overtaking Jalen Green, but being a solid 6 man in this league is essentially being a starter. Like look at
mhm,
Manu Ginobili, 6 man for years. He was good enough to start on any team in the league, but stayed in San Antonio to be a 6 man.
mhm,
And I mean, running the second unit, I think that's where he's going to flourish because he was our
mhm,
best shooter last year, field goal percentage wise and 3 point shooting wise. Like running with that second unit and playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, I think you're going to see a different player this year. I think a
he's
lot of
a
these guys are going to definitely take that next step up. Like him, Jabari. Like Jabari yesterday hit the game winner at the last second. Oh man, that was so fun to see.
mhm.
You see, seeing them, because they're not used to winning a lot of games, especially at the buzzer, and seeing the joy in their faces. Like man, like takes you back to when I played as a kid. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's fun. It's fun to watch.
Back when the game was invented.
Yeah. I used to hang out with Dr. Naismith.
I was gonna say is both you, Scott and Scott Cobe and Keith Angle were all there, at the creation of the game. Keith was there holding the
Wait,
basket up.
I was
Scott
cutting the bottom of it.
you were making the basketball and Scott was coming up with the rules and how to bet on it. So
And how to cheat.
and how to cheat. No, he did that in football, remember?
It's in every sport. If you ain't cheating, If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, baby.
Yeah.
Dusty
Especially if you live
Rhodes.
in Boston. Heyo. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I see him kind of like what we use with Isaiah Joe in our system. He's kind of like that backup point guard that comes in and then runs the second team. Now it's probably going to be Victor Oladipo now that we brought him back. So he's going to
Oladipo,
be
man, that guy. Talk about fumbling the bag. Give up $80+ million, and you signed minimum deals at this point. Like, bro.
There was a question asked on a show last week. It's like who's the one guy that whose potential kind of got derailed by injury, and Victor Oladipo was definitely one of those guys because it seemed like he was going to be one of those guys that just kind of broke out and became a superstar, and then he just kind of got derailed pretty badly by injury.
I can name some better examples.
I was
Again,
gonna say
I'm a little bit older, so
I was gonna say T Mac. T Mac came up, of course.
Man, yeah, T Mac.
You
No, I
know,
was gonna say honestly, the biggest one is probably Grant Hill. He was the original point forward,
Yeah.
6'8", could play basically 1 through 4. Yes, he was a complete player. It's just those ankle injuries and then forcing him to come back early. Like he was never. He played in the league a long time. I'll give you, but he was not. He was destined to be like the next superstar of the league, and just that ankle injury, just him and Penny Hardaway, another one, six
Penny
seven
was
point
another
guard,
one. Yeah.
6'7" point guard. Like you basically was like a skinnier version of Magic Johnson at that point. And injury is just it's definitely a big what if. T Mac, man. Oh, I loved having him as a Rocket, but it was so frustrating because every time I would check the reports, T Mac is out.
This is crazy, and then a couple other guys, Greg Oden definitely came to mind. He was picked
Brandon
number one,
Roy.
number two,
Yeah.
Brandon Roy. I want to throw a name out there. What do you think of is Zion in that category yet, or is it too early to call it for Zion at this point?
I would say it's still too early, but if he has a couple more seasons where he don't plays, he plays less than half a season, it's the bus talk is gonna get much louder. Because you came out of this basically like the phase of college basketball. You're 1 year at Duke, and then you haven't really done much in the NBA. Like you're always hurt, and now with all this off the court stuff, like you got to have a tremendous season to kind of quiet that noise from the outside. Because man, right now you're no more for the stuff off the court than on the court. Which as a pro, you shouldn't want that.
I was gonna say, if you told me into that draft coming in that R.J. Barrett would have a better PR record in New York than what Zion and Ja have right now, I would have called you crazy.
Yeah. Who saw that? Who had that on their bingo card? Not a soul on this planet. I don't think R.J. Barrett had that on his bingo card.
And I think a couple of the guys that Memphis has brought in, I think they're going to be beneficial
Good mentors.
Good mentors and beneficial for Josh. Marcus Smart, definitely. He's one of those leadership guys in the locker room for Boston. So
he's not going to take shit for anybody. Like he has that dog in him, DAWG with all capital letters. Like he's going to be the heart and soul of that team. Like Ja's going to be the face and the most talented, but the heart and soul of that team is going to be Marcus Smart.
Yeah, he's gonna keep him in check. It's kind of like what guys like Michael Young and Ian Kinsler did for Josh Hamilton when he was going through his alcoholic battles here in Texas, and when he ended up going to the Angels, they didn't have anybody like that there to kind of keep an eye on him, and that is why he kind of fell apart in with the Angels. So when he was here,
they're the worst run team in the league. Like there's no way you can have basically the top two baseball players on your roster and be sitting at home every playoff year.
But I think these moves were, yes, they needed some depth in spots. I think Memphis really had a solid team already, but these moves were basically made to be like, hey,
Maturity.
we're bringing in
Maturity is the key word.
some guys to help Ja get better, mentally. We're gonna bring some guys in to kind of be leaders, better leaders for him down the line. So,
Which is
it's a
why
smart move.
I like the Van Fleet signing. Again, he's a
Mhm.
little bit older. He's been in the league for a while, and he's an NBA champion. So they're gonna and he's a consummate professional, and with him and Ime, like they're gonna change the culture. And with Dylan Brooks, if they can kind of tone the antics down and have him just focus on playing all NBA defense, that's definitely gonna be
Mhm.
a tone setting in the locker room as well. Because again, our starting lineup, more or less outside of Van Fleet and Brooks, they're all under 21,
Mhm.
all of them.
Yeah.
Like your oldest player, from last season was KPJ at 23.
Mhm. That's what I was saying. I was telling some of the basketball guys, I was like, I think you're going to start seeing some of these younger teams start to kind of flourish a little bit more in basketball in this day and age, because you're throwing all the old heads onto one team, whether it's the Lakers or the Suns or any of these super teams that they're trying to build up. You're going to see all these younger guys. I keep saying it's going to be the changing of the guard at some point, because LeBron's going to be on his way out. Who knows how much longer Steph Curry has. KD's probably going to be on his way out soon. Russ is probably going to be on his way out soon. Chris Paul, same thing. And you're going to start seeing the younger generation guys like Jokic, guys like Giannis, and guys like some of these younger cats, especially Sacramento, Oklahoma City. SGA is probably going to be one of those guys. Ja's going to be one of these guys when he figures it out.
The Rockets, the Thunder, Indiana, like you got a lot of teams with a plethora of young talent. Like they're going to be, it's going to be definitely changing. Like you're going to see teams like the Lakers and the Knicks have been a dumpster fire for a while. So I don't even consider them.
I was going to say, dare I say, the Knicks might actually be halfway decent in the Eastern Conference for a while.
They've been dumpster fire for a while, but they're getting better. And
And
it's one of those.
as a Cowboy fan, it's music to my ears because I like seeing Stephen A. Smith suffer.
But I think there are still a few pieces away. I think their biggest issue is kind of like with the Cowboys, the
Mhm,
ownership.
mhm.
Stay out of the way of the team. Jerry Jones stop meddling, Dolan stop meddling. You might have competitive rosters year in year out,
It's
but
what the Yankees are becoming. It's what the
yeah,
Yankees are becoming. Ownership's getting too involved, you know, but they're more so just not making the right decisions
yeah.
in New York with the Yankees, but they're essentially becoming the Cowboys at this point, which
Mm-mm-mm.
is it hurts my soul. 27 years, my God, come on. That's why I don't buy into the hype. That's why I'm not the typical Cowboy fan that's like, oh, this is finally the time. This is when we're gonna finally do it.
Yeah, I'll give you that year
I
now.
probably said it like once or twice because I've had a hunch at the very least. But until this team actually gets to the NFC Championship game, I can't buy into them. I can't buy into them. That's why I picked Philadelphia last year, because
As
all
you
the
should for
moves
this
that
year.
they made. Plus, I've seen Jalen Hurts in person. I've seen him play, and saw that comeback, against Baylor, back in 2019 when they were down, 28. I was like, yeah, this kid's gonna be probably the best of the Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL. It's Jalen Hurts. Oddly enough, he ended up in Oklahoma, and graduated from here, so he's ours now,
Yeah,
suckers.
Alabama can't claim him anymore.
No, they can't. Hell no. They could probably get Arch Manning if he ends up transferring out of Texas, but
We'll see. Texas, another overhyped program that's accomplished nothing since 2006. Like
yeah,
living in the
it's
glory days.
speaking of which, I would like to officially welcome you, U of H, into the Big 12.
Thank you, thank you.
Welcome, welcome. As far as basketball is concerned, you'll probably be one of the top 4 teams. Obviously,
Yeah.
you guys, Kansas, Baylor, Gonzaga probably as well. With Gonzaga coming in, it's going to be fun in basketball.
Oh yeah.
Um,
We already had pretty good, recruiting with, being a Power Five team, and now with the being in the Big 12, yeah,
yeah.
because the USA conference, it was a hard sell. What really helped was they could see, the schools invested in the program, and Coach Sampson, like, man, kids wanted to play for him. And now
Mhm,
that you have more resources and you're in a bigger conference, bigger market games, even more so.
mhm. Is Dana still in Houston? Dana Holgerson still at
Yeah,
Houston?
he's still the coach. I've been
See,
somewhat critical of him.
that's why I feel like Houston has a leg up over all the newcomers is because Dana Holgerson's been in the Big 12.
Uh,
He's been here with West
he's been there.
Virginia. He knows what it takes to beat some of these schools here in the Big
Like with
12.
him, I've been a little critical of him because I expected a little bit more, but at the same time, I understand because, again, you're in a lower conference essentially, and it's kind of hard to recruit these kids that they're local homegrown kids, but they want to play in the Big 12, the SEC, these bigger conferences, the Big 10. Like, it's kind of hard when you're playing against Memphis and Cincinnati and teams in USFF. It's kind of hard to it's a hard sell. They've done a good job as far as recruits in football. Like, we had Ed Oliver, who's a 5-star recruit. He chose
Mhm.
to stay home. Like, so you got to have like the right coach in place. And now being in the bigger conference, it's going to make a big difference as far as the football program goes. Do I expect it this season? Probably not. Maybe
Mhm.
8 wins.
See, I think they'll be the best of the newcomers. I think
Newcomers, oh yeah,
Houston.
definitely.
I think they're going to be the best. Well, the conference doesn't see it that way, but I think they'll end up being the best of the newcomers because here's what the media poll is for the Big 12. What the Big 12 media is saying. They're saying Texas #1, which I do not know why.
When
Because
have they
right
been
now
number one?
I actually had Texas 3 because I have Kansas State and TCU higher. Uh, because I was like, these guys were in the championship last year. They got a lot of their guys coming back. They have great coaching staffs. I love Sonny Dykes and what he's done with TCU. Kansas State has been a thorn in our side the last few years. So, they have Kansas State 2. They have us 3, which they're expecting us to have a bounce back year. I think we actually will have a bounce back year this year. I hope to God we don't have another 6-win season this year. That was awful. I did not like it. Did not like it. Surprise one here. They have Texas Tech 4, which
Hmm.
I don't know. I really don't know what that one. They have TCU 5, Baylor 6, Oklahoma State 7. I think they're going to be worse than that, if I'm being honest, because I don't trust their quarterback.
No,
UCF, they have the highest of the newcomers at 8.
which I don't see.
Kansas, Iowa State, BYU, which I think is going to be one of the worst 2 teams in the conference. Uh, Houston at 12, Cincinnati 13, and West Virginia dead last.
Hmm.
I I personally think West Virginia is going to be the. I agree with them. I think West Virginia is going to be the worst team. I think BYU
Yeah,
will be the second worst.
I can see us probably be middle of the pack
Mhm.
because I don't have super high expectations. I think middle of the pack is probably reasonable as far as tempering expectations. Which being first time in this new conference, that's a good spot to be because you got to. It's going to take at least a couple recruiting classes to get up to the upper echelon. But Texas at 1, they're
They're
overhyping
overhyping Texas because
Ewers.
of their money, because of Arch Manning, because of everything
Well,
that
Archman's not even
Texas.
going to start. He's not even going to start. It's going to be
Yeah,
Ewers,
it's
and
going to be
to
Quinn. Yeah.
me, to me, he's basically Johnny Manziel with a sleeve and a mullet. It's nothing but hype.
See,
Like, there's a
see
reason
here's the
there's a reason he's transferred
see here's the
from
thing with
Ohio
Tech.
State to UT. Like, there's a reason he transferred. He's wasn't going to win the job there. He wanted here by default. I don't see it. Again, Johnny Manziel with a sleeve and a mullet. That's what he is to me.
And a name
Yeah.
the last name Manning.
No, I'm talking about Ewers, but Manning.
Ewers is yeah. I will say this though, Texas is one of those teams where it's just like you once they have a really solid game, they fall flat at the second half of the year. They had the game against Alabama where they probably should have won had it not been for Quinn Ewers getting hurt. Uh, they beat us pretty badly, but they flop in games like Texas Tech. They lose to Texas Tech. They
Right.
lose to Kansas State, TCU. They lose to Kansas constantly, which
It's
is
like the games
that's
they're supposed to win, they
until
lose.
until this past year. Kansas is only Big 12 has only had 3 Big 12 wins. All of them were Texas. So it's like you expect us to believe that this team is going to compete for a national championship when you can't even beat Kansas. Come on now.
Absolutely not. And I don't know who they added as far as the draft, as far as their their incoming rookie class, but like who's going to replace Bijan? That was the motor of your team last year. Like who's going to replace Bijan?
And his backup went too. His backup went in the
Yeah.
draft, I believe, 3rd round pick. So you really don't know who's going to be the running back there.
So you're essentially basically putting it on Quinn Ewers, and again, I think
You're basically putting
he's name and hype at this point.
You're basically putting it on Quinn Ewers and Xavier Worthy at this point. Worthy's probably their best player. Xavier Worthy.
Like I said, maybe Ewers proves me wrong this year, but what I saw last year, just name and hype.
Yeah, after he got hurt in that Bama game, he kind of just fell off a little bit. So,
I mean, he has a chance to redeem us because this upcoming quarterback draft class is supposed to be like one of the best ones possibly ever. But again, we'll see, because this is the same thing about Spencer Rattler. He's going to be the next thing, and look what happened to him.
Yeah, we don't like talking about him.
Just kind of fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, he got benched for Caleb Williams a couple years ago in that Texas game, no less. And I mean, yes, Rattler's had some pretty good performances. He had the great games against Notre Dame and Clemson and Tennessee, but really he's one of those lightning in a bottle type of quarterbacks. He can have a great game one week and he can have a terrible game the next, which is why I don't think he's going to translate well into the NFL. That's just my opinion.
Who knows? He'll be a more athletic Eli Manning. Just average regular season, and then come playoff time, just captures lightning in the bottle.
I think he's going to end up being like Johnny Manziel. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see
he's going to get drafted by Cleveland and everything. So,
no, I don't think he'll go to Cleveland. I think Deshaun Watson is going to turn it around. I hate saying that, honestly, but he's probably going to turn it around. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see that. I want to see Cleveland fail miserably because I want that high draft pick.
I'm actually a big fan of Pittsburgh this year because I like what they're doing. They've revamped their offensive line finally. I'm a big fan of Kenny Pickett. I think he fits Pittsburgh perfectly. He just screams Pittsburgh Steeler to me with how tough and gritty he's been. He was at the end of last year. And George Pickens, I think, is going to break out this year. I think he's going to have his breakout year this year.
Yeah, I think if they basically, a lot of those targets that went to Deontay Johnson, focus more of those on George Pickens, probably have a better result. Because I was looking at the numbers, the discrepancy as far as targets between Deontay Johnson and the rest of the receivers, like it was crazy. And he wasn't he didn't score a touchdown last year. Like it was crazy. They kept trying to feed him the ball and just didn't pay any dividends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those crazy things where it's just like, why are we not throwing it to Pickens more often? Because it just seems like he's the better receiver, even as a rookie. So I mean, just go give him the ball. Just give him the ball. And I like Pat Freiermuth as well as a tight end. So he's kind of that Pittsburgh, continuing that Pittsburgh tradition of having solid tight ends where the fans just cheer his name over and over again.
Yeah. Before him, you had Heath Miller, and for him, they have the tradition of having these, these blue collar linebackers. They're not spectacular. They're not going to be all pros, but you can count on them when you need a catch, when you need a touchdown. they're going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm. I'll leave you with one last question. How you feel about the Texans this season? I know you made the bold prediction that on the draft night, and it came true. You got
Yeah.
both Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud. How you feel about Houston right now? And I know you already made your big bold prediction for the season, but if you would like to remind your audience, how you feeling about the Texans right now?
Yeah, I've said it. So I've been probably the biggest pessimist as far as the Texans, rightfully so. They have done nothing to earn, any type of praise the last couple of years. But they've renewed my optimism, renewed my hope. And I've said it several times, and I'll continue to say it. They're going to win the division. They'll be a wild card team. Now, do they win a wild card game? I think it depends on the opponent. I don't see them winning, but hey, stranger things have happened.
Especially
Yeah,
since you're playing the NFC South this year. That's not
yeah,
a good division. So
at all. I think a lot of everyone's going to come there, and from our own division against the Colts and the Titans. Suck it, Sam.
or as they like to call you on the show, Mr. Turnover on downs.
Yep.
I just like calling him Captain Mayo for his quarterback. So,
Ugh.
My goodness. We got Bobby G in the comments. What's up, Bobby?
What's going on, man? But yeah, Sam, if you're watching, I have 2 words from the Great Poets DX. Same for you, Carlos, and that other person. I'm not even going to say their name because you don't deserve any name recognition, sir.
Is he even a thing? Is he? I keep telling you. I keep hearing that he's like an AI. Nobody knows if he's actually real.
He's an AL we got from Wish.
Bobby G, if the
you can see the
Texans win
results.
the division, Browns win the Super Bowl. Wow. Bold prediction for Bobby G.
Well, considering we own the draft pick, I hope not. I hope they're bottom of the division. We get the 2nd overall pick so we can get Marvin Harrison Jr.
He's likely going to Arizona, if I had to guess at number 1. Because if Arizona has number 1, I don't think they're going quarterback. Unless they trade Kyler to a team that needs a quarterback like Dallas or something.
I could see that, honestly. Because if they end up with number 1 pick with their own draft choice, yeah, Kyler's out. Because I think when you have to include a clause in a quarterback's contract that you need to watch game film, like I shouldn't include clauses for you to do your damn job. Like it shows when you're not a professional. Like it's probably not a good fit for you. Maybe you need to go somewhere else, or focus on baseball or being a full time Call of Duty player.
Something. That's why like people give me a lot of crap about my quarterback. I'm just like, hey, at least he's good off the field.
He doesn't have clauses in his contract to do his job.
Yeah. And I know he sucked last year, but at least he's trying to get better. At least he's working out with his teammates. At least he's out there, trying to get better. He's already started to build a repertoire with Brandon Cooks. He's already started to, get used to being around these young tight ends a little bit more.
I think the issue with Dak is I think especially with his contract, like he's paid like he's one of the top guys, but he's a solid game manager. Like he's like a Jimmy G, solid game manager. Like you gotta have like the right pieces in front of him. You gotta have solid guys on the outside, a reliable tight end, a top 5 offensive line, and a solid running game. Like like Jimmy G's and Kirk Cousins, like they're elite game managers. Like you have the right pieces in place, they won't lose you too many games. But
he hasn't been the same since he got hurt. Since he got hurt in 2020, he just has not been the same quarterback.
Well, because a lot of his game beforehand was he would improvise and run, and I don't think he feels comfortable doing that. And to win in this league, you gotta be able to make those plays from the pocket. You can't always rely on your athleticism.
There's a reason why Mississippi State was number 1 in the initial college football playoff poll. It was because of Dak Prescott and what he was able to do for that team. And oddly enough, they ended up falling out. Of course, Alabama was Alabama that year. Ohio State came from 16 to win the actual championship. So, again, there's a reason why there was so much praise for him when they got him in the 4th round. Why many people thought, oh, that's a steal. That's a steal for us because, Dak Prescott played in the SEC. He's been in NFL style offenses before, but like I said, since he got hurt in 2020, he just hasn't been the same quarterback.
Because he's trying to do too much from the pocket, and that's just not his game. It wasn't his game in college. I think what made him more of a threat early on in his career was you had to worry about him, taking off from the pocket. He's not the best runner. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he's a powerful runner. But again, like it comes with risks.
Yeah. And the offensive styling and the play calling needed to change a little bit too, because he's had essentially the same play caller his entire career.
And
Jason
Lamar,
Garrett.
yeah.
Jason Garrett came in, when he was there, and Kellen Moore was actually his backup when he first started into the league, and then became an offensive coordinator. And it's just been kind of that one note kind of
Yeah, it's been
offense for
the same system essentially.
Mm-hmm. That's why I feel like with McCarthy, they're going to mix it up a little bit, kind of, it'll help Dak a little bit. He's already said in press conferences that that practices are actually fun. So it'll be interesting to see what McCarthy can dial up. And I know a lot of people are not big fans of Mike McCarthy, especially one
Look,
Nick Botkins.
Botkins.
But
My thing is if you can't win with Aaron Rodgers, like I don't know what to
then
tell you.
Aaron Rodgers was a diva too, so that was a
So
big part. That was a big part of
he's
it.
he's a diva, but like the talent's undeniable.
Like I'll go back to that Seattle game where they're up 22 to like 22 to 3 or something. Their defense allows Seattle to get back into that game and win it in overtime. I don't put that on McCarthy or Aaron Rodgers. A couple of these games I do, but especially against Atlanta when they got blown out. But you know, that one game in particular, I don't blame that on McCarthy. That was kind of the game that kind of derailed that Packer team was that loss to Seattle in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, it's one of them. I think also just their inability to put elite talent around in the receiver room after Devontae Adams left. Like, if I couldn't name a single receiver on the Packers roster outside of like what's his name, Christian Watson. But even then, like if he's your number one receiver with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, come on, bro. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, how do you go from Devontae Adams, perennial All Pro, arguably top 2-3 receiver in the league, to Christian Watson be your number one guy, like, or Lazard, or the laundry list of receivers that have rolled out there week after week. I'm like, come on.
That's why I feel like it was more than just a Mike McCarthy thing in Green Bay. It was also a front office thing. Aaron wanted this, then they gave him that, and he never really got the guys that he wanted. Now sometimes he lucked out because Jordy Nelson was a second round guy and he ended up being great. Devontae Adams, as we mentioned, was a second round guy. He ended up being one of the top receivers in the league. So the Packers have not drafted a first round wide receiver / tight end in a long time. And there's a reason why, because their ownership has just not valued tight ends or wide receivers in round one for some reason.
Which is bizarre. Like, I get it. If you're good at finding these gems in the later rounds, like Pittsburgh does year after year, that's great. But you can't always bank on that. Like, sometimes if the guy is there that you can tell he's going to be a difference maker, go for him. Like, why look? Well, no, I don't want the superstar. Let me see if I can find a hidden gem in one of these lower rounds. It's worked wonders so far.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked beforehand. We didn't think we are going to go a full hour, but instead we've gone an hour and 10 minutes here, which is pretty awesome considering that, again, it's just been you and me, and thank God, no Carlos.
Praise the Lord. Hopefully wherever he is, hope he stubs his toe.
Same for a few others. But yeah,
Carlos, that AI from a country I can't even pronounce. And Sam too. Sam catches the smoke as well.
Like, where's Carlos and Poppy? They're not here. They didn't show up to the meeting.
You know who cares? Absolutely no one. as they should.
Yes, they should. Yeah. We want Carlos. We got Carlos at home.
Leave him at home.
Leave him at home. Leave him at home.
They don't
You know,
deserve name recognition or love from
leave,
anyone.
leave him in San Antonio. He'll be fine.
As he should. Go buy a Wemby jersey.
Go buy, go buy a Whippy jersey. All right, I think that's gonna be it for us tonight, guys. Rios, I know this is y'all's channel. Where can everybody find you guys at, and what you guys got coming up in the future?
Well, as you guys can see, we just type in Just Fans 22. Sounds just dirty enough. Funny story. So we were at Hooters yesterday, and I was telling one of the waitresses what our name was. Like, is that like OnlyFans? Like, no, it's not like that. Just dirty enough.
Just,
we talk about sports. She did give me some good ideas as far as pictures we can use for promos, but hey, it's we'll talk about those at later dates. But yeah, just basically type in Just Fans 22 on Twitter, on Instagram now. Obviously, YouTube, if you're watching us. TikTok, Threads. We're just type that in. Easy to spot.
Spotify too, right? Spotify too, right?
Apple Music, Google, wherever you can get your podcast from, we're there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Monday, I want to say we have one of the producers from Sports 610 Radio. Not confirmed yet. We'll see. We've had a few scheduling conflicts, but hopefully we can have him on. If not, hey, we'll do what we always do, make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlos sucks.
Carlos
tremendously.
Sucks. And whoever that AI guy is too.
And that foreign AI, yeah, he also sucks.
Yeah.
Wherever he is, hopefully his system malfunctions.
Again, it's like I said at the beginning. He's the guest that wouldn't leave, and yet now he's the only one who shows up. It's the one and only Rios,
the actual star of the show.
Yeah. The actual star of the show. He's got his own segment. He's got.
I do.
Which it's just whatever he's drinking at that moment. So.
I really appreciate you coming out with me because I was trying to think like, man, it's gonna be real boring me talking to myself for an hour.
Let the war begin. Yeah, no problem. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Hell, I called in tonight just to be on the show. So,
appreciate that.
If there was one reason I would call in my job for, it'd be for you guys. So.
PSA, Carlos's foot cheese.
Jesus fucking Christ. As for me, guys, you can find me on the Let's Talk Sports Network. I do pretty much a plethora of anything on the network. A couple shows here and there. Our baseball show on Tuesdays. I got a vlog coming out tomorrow about UT, Texas. Are they actually back, or is it just a farce as we talked about?
Horns down.
Horns down. We can't do that. It's a 15-yard penalty. Thank you, NCAA. Oh, hey, no problem, man. Anytime y'all need me. Hell, if you want it to just be me and Sam for a night, hell, we'll do that.
Absolutely not.
He said absolutely not.
Not that slump buster. He's on my shit list too.
Don't worry, he's on my list too because his team is awful. Sorry. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at @paralysis30. Shout out to Dan at Let's Talk Sports for giving me the platform, giving all of us the platform to just do what we love to do. Shout out with our new partners at Sideline Sports as well. And then shout out Hardcore Sports and Mitch for what, he's done with his network and, giving these guys yet another platform to be on as well. So,
yeah, speaking of Hardcore Sports, check us out on Wednesdays. We do the Pick and Roll podcast. We talk hoops and it gets derailed a lot, but hey, we have a good time. It's definitely if you're a basketball fan.
I was gonna say on this show, nah.
Well, it's their show, but yeah, just
their
get a little off topic.
Always. It's nice getting off topic. It makes it fun. Because
sometimes you hit gold. This is Carlos. He's a terrible human being, and he smells horribly. Smells rancid.
It's just shit's bricks. Oh my god,
He's
guys!
a true San Antonian.
Shit's bricks, definitely for sure. God, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. Thank you to Rios and Carlos for letting me be on tonight.
Not Carlos. Don't thank him.
Oh, yeah. Who's that guy, by the way? I don't know, but yeah,
Curse him and his future generations. That's all they deserve.
Thank you guys for letting me be a part of this show tonight. This was fun. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Thank you to the community as well. Thank you to everybody who commented. Carlos, I guess, if I have to say it. Juan, Bobby G. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. But yes, definitely. You guys can catch these guys on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Sunday, Saturday, Thursday, whatever day, depending on what podcast you want to download. Yeah, these guys do awesome work. So I'm really proud to be a part of this group too. So
one day it's gonna be Rios 24/7.
You're gonna have your own network. Just don't screw it up like Texas did.
It's not gonna be the Longhorn Network. People are actually gonna watch.
It'll be the Drunk Uncle Network.
Hey, there's a lot of us out there.
Yeah.
Drunk uncles, drunk deals, whatever you want to call us.
Yep. Guys, have a good rest of your night. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on my show. We're going to talk about Texas as much as I hate it. But yeah, you can chat these guys on Monday night as well. Definitely keep an eye out. Let's Talk Sports, Hardcore Sports, Sideline Sports, podcast, whatever. Follow them, follow me. You guys know the drill at this point. We're going to hit that outro and head out for the night. Love you all. Stay safe. We'll see you later.